So good evening, everyone. Brian Russell here, League Director. Welcome to our season showdown town hall, last event of the season, and looking forward to discussing with you tonight what to expect for the weekend. I've got several members of the league staff on the line with me tonight to help basically answer your questions. The format for our town halls, as is normal, we'll spend about the first 30 minutes walking through the schedule for the weekend. We'll use the flyer to do that. We do have some changes for this weekend, schedule changes both Saturday and Sunday. We want to walk you through, and then a couple new things for the weekend. Scavenger hunts on Saturday, senior recognitions on both days. So a lot going on this weekend to close out the season in good fashion. Want to make sure we get all those things on the table tonight. And again, get your questions answered. We'll spend the first 30 minutes doing that, walking through the flyer. While we're doing that, please feel free to put your questions in the chat window, and a staff member will get an answer to that question as soon as we can. About the 30-minute mark, we will go to just an open forum question and answer. If we haven't answered that question by then, we'll get to it. And again, we'll just leave the floor open for just general questions as we go through. As has been tradition here in our town halls, the first student athlete to ask a question tonight will get a prize. The prize tonight is this card right here, which you can pick up at the registration tent this weekend. This gives you a free piece of merchandise at our merchandise tent. So merchandise, if you're choosing, hoodie, t-shirt, hat, whatever, that's your prize. Student athletes, we're here for you. We want to make it a great weekend. So let us know what questions you have as we go through tonight. We have about just over 470 student athletes for the weekend. Looks like a pretty good weekend so far. I'll address weather at the end, but looking fairly good right now for a decent weekend. So with that, let me go ahead and share my screen. As we normally do, I will show everyone where to find the information you are looking for. So I am on our league website right here. We'll go to program overview at the top, scroll down to events and race results. Click on that, and then it's kind of easy this week because you just have to scroll to the bottom and look for our last event. So there we are, season showdown out there in Mayodan. I will click on the flyer here in just a minute. That will be the source of most of our information, but some other links you may find useful. Volunteer links, still need some volunteers. Diane will talk to us about that here in a minute. Camping still open. We still have some slots for camping open if you want to come on out and be right there at Ferris Memorial Park. Thanks to Ben Harbor, as he always does, putting together the pit zone map so you can find where your team is located in the pit zone. And then about 20 minutes ago, I just put the call-up list onto the website for the weekend, and that is also linked in the flyer, and we'll show you where to do that. So to find the information you're looking for, click on the flyer link there, and here we are, season showdown out at Mayodan. Scroll down to the table of contents, and here you can find pretty much everything you're looking for. These are all bookmarked. Click on that particular thing, and it will bring you there. And we'll just use that. I'll click on the home teams and volunteers. And Diane LeBlanc, why don't you tell us how we're doing on volunteers for the weekend and where we might need some extra help. Diane, over to you.
Thanks, Brian. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our last town hall. Kind of bittersweet because it's our last one and the end of our season, but we're already looking forward to next season. So I hope you all are as well. We are currently at, about 60% for the volunteers that we need for the weekend. So our percentage is low. We really need you all to step up. Look, if your coaches encourage your parents, most of our volunteer slots are only about 2 hours long. So some of you may have heard me talk before about Mission Critical. We do have volunteer slots at our Mission Critical, one of those being course marshals. So we are currently in need of 5 course marshals for the last slot that we have. That is from 1:10 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So just a reminder that volunteers for course marshals have to be at a NICA level 1, 2, or 3 coach to be able to do that. So that really is mission critical. One of the other ones that we have that's not course marshals, but our crossing guards are really, really important. They prevent the spectators from crossing the trail while the race is in process. And so right now, one of the spots we need 5 crossing guards from 12:15 to about 3 o'clock. So as I always say, if you have any questions about any of the volunteer positions, please hit me up in the chat below and I will be sure to answer your questions. Or if you want to send me a message or an email, you can send that to Diane at northcarolinamtb.org. What I should have led with was thank you to all of you who have volunteered. Thank you to your teams who have volunteered this season. We absolutely cannot do our races unless we have our volunteers, because you play a key role in allowing us to do these events for our student athletes. So again, if you have any questions, hit me up. I look forward to seeing all of you at Mayodan this weekend. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the teams out there, last opportunity to earn your points for awards. We will recognize top 5 individuals, top 5 teams that have put in the volunteer hours. Pretty impressive. I've seen a preview of what Diane and Jenny have put together in terms of the total hours folks have put into volunteer. So we will recognize folks during podiums at the end of Sunday. And let me mention, Diane, we talked about this earlier, but if we have anyone that has volunteered for 3 or more races, please show up to the volunteer tent this weekend and get your league t-shirt. We promise that to you at the beginning of the season. We'll give you a league t-shirt for contributing. And for any coaches online, reminder, your volunteer hours count towards field work for your licensing requirements. So you can include the hours you worked as a volunteer for field work, another incentive for helping us out. And it's great when we see all the volunteers come out and make these events happen. That's what truly makes them special. It's a community here in North Carolina. Love seeing everyone involved, parents and coaches, and even some community members have come out just to help out. And it's super awesome. And before we transition to the next spot here, I do think I'm going to make a league director decision on this, because it looks like Sarah Clemens and then Aiden Sexton came in pretty close with a question. So 2 free merchandise cards for you all. So you each get one. Good job with the questions. I think Sarah, we'll circle back to your rock garden question when we get to the course inspection section there. We will give you an answer to that one. But great job, folks, asking the questions again. We're here for you, so we want to make sure you get all your questions answered. Again, just show up to the registration tent and grab those cards this weekend to claim your merchandise. So what I'd like to do next, we'll go back up here to the table of contents, and I'm going to turn it over to Ben Harbor next, as he usually does in these town halls, give you a preview of this venue, the parking and the pit zone, a little about what to expect when you come in. You'll meet our parking volunteers first off coming in. So Ben, I'll stop sharing if you want to grab the screen share and walk us through what to expect coming in the venue. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So I will share out my screen. And this is the map, as he showed you, linked from our beautiful race flyer. This is the venue for Mayodan, Harris Memorial Park. As you come in off of Park Road, you will turn into the park and be greeted by several of our parking volunteers. Again, thank you for those that help with that. And vehicles will park up here in these beautiful rows at the top. Get my mouse to quit what it's doing. What is it doing? All righty. A little too much caffeine on the batteries. So you'll park in those parking spaces if you're just unloading and walking into the venue. If you're coming to unload for pit zone, which opens at 10 a.m. on Saturday, you'll continue down the lovely brick road, turn right into this big parking lot of spaces. As you look in and zoom in, you will see that there are parking spaces that pull into facing the ball field. There's one row of those right there. And then there's a middle spine of what we call it, of double parking spaces. And then another row facing our pit zone. If you're parking in for pit zone, please drive all the way down, circle around, come in and park, unload quickly, and then move out so others can get in and unload as well. The hot topic question of the day for most people are for those teams that have trailers that need to be unloaded. We would ask that you drive your vehicle all the way down towards the end, do a U-turn, come back in and park in this middle spine section, essentially taking up 2 parking spaces with your tow rig and trailer and unloading off the back. Keep in mind that will potentially cause a traffic jam, depending on how long your rig and trailers are. So please be mindful and unload those quickly into the grass, and then close up shop and then move the trailers and vehicles. If we go down the end of this parking, we've got a gravel pad parking down here, and then our camping RV parking down at the very, very bottom, what they name as their soccer fields. Tent camping is in this upper ball field as you come in, on your right as you come in. Those that are tent camping, we're going to ask you to unload and then park back in the normal parking spaces. So that way we have enough space for pit zone movement and unloading and loading. If you have a trailer, once you unload, we're going to ask you to please drive down to this lower parking, park it in here on this gravel pad. That way it's out of everybody's way for parking during the days. Pit zone is the lower field down here, close to the playground, as you can tell down there at the bottom. And then all of our food vendors will be up here on the corner. Our league trailer, merchandise, registration, check-in, all that will be right there at the edge of the grass near the main pavilion. There are a few notes for our campers. As we mentioned, there are camping slots down here at the very, very bottom. The park manager has asked that if you have a trailer to park down here or a driving motor coach, that you please align it to where you can drive into or back straight into your area to camp. They're wanting to minimize the amount of turning that you're doing on the ball field. So there may be some parking attendants directing you to ride all the way around the field and come straight into the soccer field to minimize the turning on top of the soccer field. So pay attention to those volunteers, the park manager, if he's on site directing, and respect that request. Parking or camping at our venues is a privilege that our land managers offer to us. It's not just a, hey, we signed a permit, we get to do what we want. They are gracious enough to give us that camping opportunity. There is also another camping opportunity. If you go out of the park, across the street to the left, almost like a Z, and go up here into this wooded area. There's some camping spots up there that folks have reserved. There is a small bathhouse up there for those that need facilities. Please keep in mind that it's, I think, a 2-stall per male, 2-stall for female, and that's about it up there. So please be mindful of those facilities. There will not be porta-johns in that parking area over there, nor will they be down at the RV parking. All porta-johns will be against the edge of the ball field for pit zone and about 3 or 4 against the ball field for camping. What questions do we have about our venue entrance, parking, and other facilities?
Hey, Ben, while we're on the map, we do have a question in the chat from David asking how long is the start until you hit the trail, and then basically how long you'll have to pass before you hit the trail. And could you use this also as an opportunity to talk about the key decision we have to make on Friday? when we first get out there about course direction.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first question I'll need to answer is, honestly, we're waiting to get on site to determine that. In the past, when we've showed up, the park has done enhancements and put wooden pylon posts up with steel braided cable between them and blocked off certain grass areas of their park that made it difficult for us to route a course easily. We will not know until Friday morning what we're setting up. This is the map that kind of we've had for years, this little down and back up. We have not utilized in a very long time. To my knowledge, I don't think we've ever used it since 2019. But the distance of the start chute per NICA guidelines, they'd like to keep it at a 1/4 mile before we hit single track. We're going to do our best to try to honor that. It's got to be uphill as well. We're going to work to see if we can honor that. But I do not want to give it's going to be a 0.32 tenths of a mile without actually getting on site and setting it up. So our crew is going to arrive on Friday morning, do a quick lap that looks to see which direction we want to ride the course in, and then start setting up. So unfortunately, there's not a good hard answer that I can provide you tonight.
I know we always strive to give a little bit of distance, right, Ben, to the athletes as they come off the start chute, much like we've done with our other venues. Let me just use this as an opportunity to mention the other factor we're working is to put the start chute after the finish, like everyone has noticed in our other venues this year. And there's a key reason for that. We're going to run a compressed schedule on Sunday as well. That really helps us do that, to put a wave out onto the course before the wave in front of it is done. So that's what we're looking at on Friday. Ben described it exactly correctly. We're making a Friday game day decision, one, about how we manage start and finish. And then that might change the direction we run this course in. We might run it, what folks that were around last year would say is backwards. To do that. But yeah, we're trying to manage, one, the start length per NICA guidance, and also sure we can run a condensed schedule. So it's a great question, David. Sorry to give you the it depends, but we'll see you on Saturday. Give all the coaches the brief in the morning, run them out on the course, and then by the time they're briefing you and your team, you'll know what to expect going out there on the course. Ben, would you mind keeping the map up and pointing to a couple locations for me before I go into the next section? It's basically getting back to Sarah Clemens' questions about, she's heard there's some very technical rock gardens. Could you point out generally where that first one is if we run it normal direction? And Sarah, this is the answer to your question. Ben's going to point to if we run it in the normal direction, as you climb up the hill, there is a rock garden up at the top of that hill you run through, which requires a little bit of practice to get through, but there are a couple lines through that rock garden. There's one, if you shoot it straight across, you're going to go across the rock. There's a route to the left, which provides less rock. So it is, I would call it a technical rock garden like you did. Certainly something we would expect coaches and their teams to do a little bit of sessioning on, stop and take a look during the course inspection and pre-ride for that one garden in particular. And then Ben, if you can swing down south to that other section of the course where there are some, what would you say, cabbage size rocks sometimes in the trail. Sarah, if your team has been doing the rock dodge drill, you're going to be in good shape for that section of the trail. Some bike body separation and let your bike get around some of those cabbage sized rocks that are in the trail in that section of the course. Again, reason we do course inspection, get out there. Coaches probably want to point those out to your athletes while you're on course inspection. It's a fantastic question, Sarah, and I hope that answered it for you sufficiently. If not, drop something else in the chat or hit us during Q&A during the second 30 minutes of the brief. Ben, anything else you want to give in terms of a venue overview before I grab the screen back from you?
I think we're good with that. I think
Okay.
we're good with all the venues.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And again, if anyone has any questions, yeah, go ahead and throw that in the chat window. No problem. Let me go back to the flyer. What I'd like to do now is pause on Saturday's schedule. And did Sean Moore get on the line by chance? Otherwise, I'll cover the course inspection. For Sarah Clemens, while I'm scrolling through here, if you want to read a little bit more about what Sean's prepared for those coaching tips to deal with the rock gardens, it's right here in the flyer on those coaching tips. He did a good job of spelling out, particularly over that first rock garden. Momentum is in fact your friend. roll right over that thing. Your tires can do it. They're big enough on your mountain bike. So let's talk Saturday schedule and the significant change and one minor one to make sure that's clear for everyone. Based on some feedback after our last venue, there was mainly a request to give some separation between the grit pre-riders, the one lap athletes that would go out with the grit pre-ride, who were then expected to go right back out with their teams under red flag and do another course inspection. So for this venue, we've changed that. Red flag starting at 1:30 there is now for multi-lap athletes. So if you're a multi-lap category, you will go out at 1:30 under red flag conditions. That gives those grit pre-riders a little bit of a break so they can show back up at 2:45. And now yellow flag is single lap category athletes. I'll just say that one more time. So 1:30 on Saturday, red flag is multi-lap category athletes for course inspection. Same guidance applies, coach led, very slow, stop in session, take a look, make sure you're comfortable with the course. And then 2:45, yellow flag goes up, and that is for single lap categories. That is the significant change for Saturday. The one minor, if you look down here, we also had a request after the last venue to extend green flag. So again, that's the buddy pairs going out, student athletes, at least two. Give a little extra time. Maybe some of the athletes can get a couple laps in, giving him an extra 15 minutes. So we've extended that green flag by 15 minutes, give a little extra time for another lap maybe for folks. And that has just bumped the coach's ride. So everyone gather up at 5:30. If you're a coach and want to help us sweep the course, we'll roll out at 5:45 on Saturday, make sure everyone is off that course. If you have any questions about that, please drop them in the chat, no problem, or we'll hit it during Q&A. Again, red flag is now multi-lap, yellow flag is single lap course inspection for athletes, 15 extra minutes on the green flag. And so while we're on Saturday, I want to turn it over now to Shell Frost, Programs Director, to talk some of the cool things we've got lined up for Saturday for our season showdown. Shell, over to you.
Hi. So we have a ton planned for Saturday. Trying our best to make up for lost opportunities earlier in the season and still fit all the fun in that we could. We have a scavenger hunt taking place in the adventure area. You can register a team at the adventure tent on Saturday up until 12:30, the time that the scavenger hunt will start. So if you didn't get a chance to register a team online, you can stop by the adventure tent before 12:30 and register one to still participate. That scavenger hunt will begin at 12:30, and that is also when the activities at the adventure tent will open. You can check in to begin the scavenger hunt anytime up until 3:30 in the afternoon. So you don't have to start right at 12:30. You can start up until 3:30 in the afternoon. They'll give you the instructions, the scavenger hunt list when you check in. And the prizes for that will be the first place team that finds the most items in the least amount of time is going to win a treat from the Kona Ice Truck for everyone on their scavenger hunt team. And then we will also be entering every participant's name in a raffle to win some pretty cool additional prizes. So that'll be pretty fun. Definitely recommend that you register a team. Then the activities at the adventure tent will close at 5 o'clock. So at the Trek Hospitality tent in the evening, we're going to have our senior adventure night. Pretty excited about that. So we'll have food, games, and music at the Trek Hospitality Zone starting at 6:30 for senior student athletes who registered for that. And then 8 o'clock, we're going to do a night ride with those seniors. Bring a light if you have it. If you don't have one, Trek is going to bring some to provide for those who need them. So don't let that stop you from participating. If you don't have a light, just bring one if you do. And then parents, if you can please pick up your student athletes no later than 9:30 from that. And then also at the grit area, we will be having the grit pre-ride. Check-in for that is 11:50. And then the grit tent activities open at 1:30. We'll have a health, wellness, and nutrition chat at 2:30. There will be no grit re-ride this time, just to kind of simplify things. We opened up additional spots for that pre-ride so people could join that instead. And then at 4:30, we are going to have a water balloon fight with our reusable water balloons. So that'll be fun. And then activities at the grit tent will close at 5:30. And at 7 o'clock, we are going to have a season sunset celebration at the grit tent from 7 until 9. So student athletes who registered for that, we're going to have the black lights, music, games, a glow photo booth, glow sticks, lots of fun stuff going on there too. So parents, if you have a student athlete attending that, please plan to pick them up no later than 9 o'clock.
Okay, Shell, thanks for covering that. Again, questions in the chat, or we'll catch it during the Q&A. Let me spend a little bit of time on Sunday, probably longer than we normally do. And I'm going to scroll down to the wave schedule to do that. Already mentioned, call-up lists are posted. Overall, the change for this Sunday is we are running a compressed schedule like we did at our last Dark Mountain event. Pretty much overwhelming support for finishing a little bit earlier. In the last race, it was to get ahead of the weather. In this race, and I'll talk weather again, like I said at the end, it's really to get ahead of podiums because there are a lot of things going on during podiums. So I'll just pause on each wave. We were pretty tight at Dark Mountain, and we had some waves and fields running into each other. So we've extended the times a little bit, so not quite as aggressive as last time. And we think we have the timings worked out pretty well by giving that extra time. But as you look at the schedule here, normal start time 9 o'clock with wave 1. Here's wave 2, staging at 10:20, first field out 10:35. We are maintaining for wave 2 the JV1 field 1, then freshman field 1, freshman field 2, and then JV1 field 2 order for starts. Wave 3 staging 11:50, and the first field there will go out around noon. And then everyone can see here that 1:20 for wave 4 in the first group. Our first field going out about 1:35. We think that puts us about a 3:15 finish for the day. Again, depending on any race stoppages or anything we need to do to reorder the day. But again, everyone was pretty overwhelming in support of a compressed schedule. Run that again today. Let me rewind this tape real quickly to Diane LeBlanc's portion. The key for all of this is getting marshals and crossing guards to show up on time in sufficient quantities so we can track everyone on the course and make that a very efficient day. So there are some dependencies to running a shorter course. Again, appreciate your support to get some volunteers out there to make sure we can do that. Call-up procedures, generally the same. Again, call-up lists are out. You will know the order that every athlete will be called up by. Yours truly, love doing it. Get to know the names across the entire league. The one change for this weekend, because we are trying to recognize our seniors, so we will have some senior athletes in the JV1, JV2, and varsity categories for both boys and girls. We have let them or given them the opportunity to have their parents or siblings or a coach escort them up from the staging area down to the start chute. So yours truly will be calling out a parent name or a sibling name to recognize our seniors, much like their peers do in other high school sports, headed out onto the field. We're going to do the same for our seniors, and I'm looking forward to that, just seeing the parents or whoever else is going to accompany them. I think we've got the timing rights from staging to the start of the race, and I've gotten really good at calling names this season, so I think we're in good shape for that. But just wanted to give everyone the heads up. Why don't you head on down to the staging area, maybe if you hadn't before, for our JV1, JV2, and varsity categories to cheer on those seniors as they finish their NICA experience here in North Carolina and launch to that next thing. We build lifelong mountain bikers, and so it's pretty special that we're launching those seniors out the way we are this weekend. So support them the best you can, please. Again, any questions about wave schedules and timings and all that, please throw in the chat, and then we can hit it during the Q&A. Let me, this is new. to the flyer, I thought it would be good to give everyone a sense of one, the importance of recognizing all of the wonderful things that our student athletes, coaches, volunteers have done all season, but that will take us a little bit of time. Another reason going with a compressed schedule. And right now we think 3:45 we can start podiums. But again, look in red, all dependent on how that race day goes with all those waves. So much like we did the last race, we will give an announcement at the conclusion of wave 4 of when we will conduct podiums. And then we have basically 2 main groups. We will do just like we normally do for this race specifically. We will give awards for the racers, and we'll recognize some of our Teen Trail Corps folks and hype awards for this event. That's all kind of normal. And then we go into our season awards, and I wanted to give everyone an opportunity here to see, and please encourage if you have student athletes or coaches in any of these categories expecting to receive awards for Teen Trail Corps for the season, for volunteer for the season. Shell has received those character award nominations. We will recognize them, and then towards the end, we'll bring all the seniors up to the podium and recognize them. We do have some seniors here in this league that have been with us all 7 seasons, which is pretty darn cool. And so we want to recognize them, and then we will give out the Team Values Award, which is the teams that do the best in racing, volunteering, and Teen Trail Corps to close out the day. A lot to get done there. Again, yours truly has some good training under his belt now to get through those fairly efficiently. But I think it's going to be a good way to end the season. Again, want to give everyone an idea what time that was going to take, and hopefully, if we're on track, everyone finished up 5:30 and can get back on the road with that. Let me talk. I had that on the screen earlier. Let's see if I can find that again. That wonderful picture. And Elizabeth Gardner, I don't know if you're still on the line or not, but I was up in Raleigh today with Elizabeth Gardner from WRAL talking about weather for this weekend. And it's looking okay. Here's what I wanted to show you. Here's my share screen. There she is, the experienced professional that she is, telling me how she helps me make weather decisions for every weekend. And I think we've got a little bit of rain coming in Saturday night, maybe into Sunday morning. Not a lot. Models are all looking pretty good right now. So I think we're going to have a pretty good weekend. I'll just encourage everyone to sign up for the weather alert. We'll do our weather call tomorrow, 11:15 or so. And by noon, I'll get the word out that we're a go or not. Again, I think we're a go for this. We just might have to make some game day decisions in terms of mitigating some of the weather impacts. But right now, looking pretty good. So with that, a little bit over our 30-minute time frame, but we had some extra things, and I see at least one finger in the air from Ben Harbor, which means I believe he has something to share. Ben, what you got?
Yeah, I was going to answer a question or two from the chat regarding camping, and also provide some notes from our camping coordinator, Michael Lashley, who had a conflict this evening. For those that are camping, either RV or tent, you must have a ticket. He did extend the camping deadline, so it is still open if teams, families, folks still need lodging reservations on site. So please check out our league's webpage for those reservations if you need them. So he has extra capacity for those. We've already mentioned the fact of the maneuvering on the soccer field, so just be mindful of that. Try not to twist and move your rig and your tow vehicle once you've got it set. They're trying to minimize the impact on that again. This is a pack it in, pack it out venue. So if you're at your pit, at your camping site, please pack out all trash to any area receptacles that you can find. No campfires or fire pits on grounds. You can't have gas grills, no charcoal. So mindful of that. Those will be some notes that our camping coordinator will send out later in the week before this weekend. So you'll have all those notes as well. And to answer Abby's question in the chat, to my knowledge, the camping spots are not assigned. I do believe they're a first come, first serve, slot them in, stack them, and move to the next. But that'd be a question you can obviously email camping@northcarolinamtb.org. Any questions regarding camping that I've missed?
When does the deadline to sign up for camping on site?
I think it's going to close Friday night so that they can have printouts of who's paid for it or not. The camping, for those that may not know, the league does collect the fees for that, and we have to pay the park service, the land manager, all those fees. The league does not keep those. So they did go around last year, knocking on tents, knocking on RVs, asking, did you pay? Do you have record? To do a head count. So I would imagine they'll be doing the same thing again.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Ben, this is Abby. Just want to clarify, is a solo stove considered a fire pit? Are those okay or no?
I would consider those a fire pit, and they'll probably say no.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately.
That's fine.
Thank you, man.
And Shell, looks like you might be addressing the scavenger hunt question I saw in the chat. How to sign up for that. Thanks
Yes.
for that. Yep. And then are we good, Shell, or anyone else been following? Are we good on all the chat questions before we go to the open mic night?
I think we covered everything in the chat.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so open mic night for everyone. If you want to raise your hand and get your question on the table, we will keep the mic open.
Sorry, one more. I just wanted to clarify the decision that's going to be made Friday morning. That is whether the course will be ridden in the same direction it's always been ridden, or whether it'll be ridden backwards from that. Is that the correct understanding?
Correct.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. And for Kim, just about 4 miles, plus or minus whatever we do with start and finish on there. Ben, is that about right? Course length?
That is correct. Just under 4.
Okay, yep. Kim, hope that answers it for you. Any other questions, like will Brian Russell still have his voice at the end of the weekend after all those call-ups and podium awards, anything like that? Any burning questions? Diane, I got a smile out of you, so that was worth it. I'll start using the throat lozenges now.
The inquiring minds want to know, Brian Russell.
What's that?
Don't be weak. Save your voice.
That's right. Well, it seems like we've got about everything covered. You know, folks know how to reach me, how to reach the staff if anything pops between now and Saturday when we see folks show up. Again, I think we've got some volunteer spots still on Friday, Diane, if you want to come out and help with the setup, get that pit zone set up and all that. So yeah, more spots available for the volunteers. So love seeing the folks out there. One question from Clay. Here we go.
Brian.
Yeah, what you got, Diane?
Okay, one last thing. If you are volunteering this weekend, please make sure that you come and sign in at the volunteer table. We have a lot of people that could just go to the volunteer spots, and so we have no knowledge that they have volunteered. So if people don't sign in, I can't award hours because I have no way to document that. So the other thing too is if you have family members, parents of your student athletes or other coaches, please make sure that you let them know. This takes a lot of stress off of myself and Jenny, because there are, like I said, there are key spots that have to be filled and we need to know that they're being filled. So you could be our new best friends just by making sure that people come and check in at the volunteer tent. And of course, Brian, don't want to forget this, they get the ticket for their free meal, which is really important. We love our volunteers and we like to feed them. So anyways, okay, that's all I got, Brian. Thanks.
No, thank you, Diane, and thanks to Ben, who trust me, everyone, when I say this, goes through a lot of effort to get those food trucks out there all season, because they come and go sometimes the day before. So yeah, come on out, grab a food ticket and get a good meal from the trucks. Ooh, and the Boy Scouts are out for this venue.
I've got a surprise visitor.
Ooh, surprise visit.
Yeah. I had a offer, and I said, yeah, from the Paris Memorial Park park manager, Caesar. And if you see Caesar walking around, please tell him thank you. Great man, done a lot for us, the league, in getting this set up. But he called me this morning and says, hey, I've got another food vendor if y'all want it. Said they're willing to come out. We are having our first ice cream truck at a NICA event. I'm not sure how well that's going to work
Just
at
in
80
time for
degrees.
season showdown. Ben, well
Yeah.
done. Caesar, well done.
Yeah.
The long-standing call for ice cream at one of our events.
Yes. So I'm not to blame for your sticky grips and sticky top tubes and pedals for the ice cream that your students may have.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience before I hit stop record on this? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your attendance here. And again, super stoked to see you all this weekend in Mayodan for Season Showdown. Thanks much, everybody.